Hola y bienvenidos angelinos. Welcome back Galaxy fans to the Galaxy Guy Show. Como siempre, I'm your host Chris Maldonado coming to you tonight on the eve of the final battle. That's right, here we are. We're gearing up for the final game of the season. It feels like just yesterday the season started, right guys?
Yeah.
And yet here we are, 30 plus games in. It's decision day against Minnesota United. We knew from the very first day that this would be our final match, Minnesota United, but I don't think a lot of us had the idea that this game would literally be it for the Galaxy, right? Decision day. There's a lot riding on this. Without trying to sound too dramatic, the entire season, everything that the Galaxy has fought for, has played for, all the sweat, the injuries, the tears, all season long depends on the outcome of this game and this game alone. Playoffs are on the line, and the possibility, kind of slim, but the possibility of a nice, shiny MLS Cup. Numero 6, right? There's always a possibility. It's literally do or die, and we will talk about that coming up. The scenarios for the LA Galaxy going into this final game. It's going to be a heck of a show. Really excited about this one because we have a lot of very insightful points to cover. We have an in-depth Minnesota match preview. We're going to cover the game that happened in Seattle, how important that was. A point, a lot of people are saying it's not very important. Some people are saying it's big. We'll see. Bit of a different format for this one. We're going to be giving you guys that preview against Minnesota. Our friend Matt here did a lot of research on this. He had to go to the Minnesota fan base, reach out to them directly in order to get a lot of good points from them regarding their team, how they see their team possibly winning this or losing this against the Galaxy, some strengths and weaknesses. It's very important.
You know what they say, Chris, to know thy enemy, you must become thy enemy. And Matt did the dirty work.
Matt went undercover. He received some hate, apparently. He received some abuse, but he did it all for the show. He did it so that you guys out there will be informed as possible. By the time you guys finish listening to this, you will have a much better understanding of our opponent, just how well or poorly we will possibly stack up against them. Now, of course, if you want to have all of this insightful back and forth, all this insightful conversation, you need to have insightful people on the show. And as you guys know, we have the usuals here with us. With me tonight, the one and only Casey, the man with the stats giggle. Casey, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Another midweek game, not midweek, another weekday game on a Monday. Looking forward to this Sunday and being out there in the afternoon sun and seeing all the other Galaxy fans, hopefully not for the last time this season. So we'll see. I'll be there vlogging. So if any of you see me out there, feel free to stop me, say hi, have a picture, say hello, get on the vlog, have a shout out, whatever you want.
Hopefully not the last time. We'll see you there. It's good having you on, man. With us also is the one and only Matt, a.k.a. Matt Stradamus, and that's becoming truer and truer every day, sir. Matt Granger, how are you tonight, Matt?
I'm doing great. I've been listening to a lot of Mariah Carey, some Donna Summers. I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. Man, what talented women. What talented women they are.
Oh, my God.
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to decision day. I think we discussed this earlier in the season when we had the first LAFC game. I love big games. They're the closest you're ever going to get to playing yourself in sports once your career has kind of passed and your Cavs have kind of given up on you. So I'm looking forward to decision day, and let's get to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Hey, it's starting to feel like that season, right?
Yeah.
Pleasure having you guys on the show as always. Pleasure to get to talk soccer with you guys every week. And guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do here tonight, right? We're going to talk some soccer, some LA Galaxy soccer. What do you guys say we talk about it?
Let's do it.
Good? All right, let's do it. Before we begin, just want to say this, get it out of the way, guys. All the fans out there listening to the show, people that are maybe just viewing for the first time, if you're seeing this show on an advertisement on somebody else's show, give us a follow, give us a like. Give us a little comment. That's fine. We try to get back to as many of you as possible. We like being engaged with the fan base, so love to see it. And we're getting there, right, guys? We're kind of gaining some traction. It's feeling good. So again, shout out to all you guys, the faithful listeners. We love you guys. We appreciate it, and we do the show for you. So there's going to be more coming. But with that said, let's get started. Let's get right into it. I do want to mention one more thing, and this is regarding Javier Chicharito Hernandez. Now, at the start of the season, we set a benchmark amount of goals that Chicharito had to score in order to be considered successful this season, right? Because let's face it, last season for Javier Chicharito Hernandez was a disaster. It was he performed poorly and he hardly played. So the number that we at the show reached at the start of this season was based on the last 7 seasons. That's 2014 to 2020. 2014, obviously, the last time the LA Galaxy won a cup. We totaled the goals and averaged them out. Our good friend G-Man, the guy who operates the single largest LA Galaxy Discord server, shout out to them, and one of the largest Galaxy communities, he helped us a lot with this. He crunched the numbers. He gave us the idea. Basically, what was done is we took the top 10 strikers from each of the last 7 seasons, right? So we took the average for those 10, 2014, the average for the top 10 in 2015, top 10 in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then we averaged those numbers into one number. So the number we came up with was, I believe, 16 goals. 16 goals was the total average that the top 10 strikers in the last 7 seasons have scored. So the number we gave Chicharito, and we were kind of generous with him, was 15 goals this season in order for him to have a, quote, successful season this year. And guess what? As of last game in Seattle, Javier Chicharito Hernandez has now scored 15 total goals with 1 match left to go. So who knows? He might get a hat trick and we end up with Chicharito with more goals than this. But before we get into the Seattle and Minnesota game, I want to ask you guys, and Matt, we can start with you. Here we are, 1 game left to play, 15 goals. Has Javier Chicharito Hernandez had a successful season this year, or is he still far too overpaid for the production that he's given us?
I think this is one. It's going to be an oxymoron, but I think this is one of those scenarios where both are true. I think if you're looking at goals per million, like no one ever got a better deal than Zlatan, right?
Yeah.
And for that reason, we're probably a little bit spoiled. But so I think he's overpaid in that sense. But to his credit, if Chicha steps on the field, there's like no doubt in my mind he will bleed out to score a goal. And most times he does score a goal. It's just about getting him on the field. So if you're talking about like when he's on the grass, I don't think there's a person who lives up to dollar for dollar more than Chicha on this team. It's just unfortunate that his injuries, whether self-inflicted or not, have occurred. But no, I would say it's a successful season. And honestly, going into the last game, like a one-off, knowing he's going to play, knowing that he is healthy, I have full faith he's going to get us over the line.
Yeah.
What do you think, Casey?
I mean,
successful?
Look, I think we're getting the value we expected out of him. He is leading the team in goals, 15 goals. He's got double-digit goals. He's hitting that average number that we on the podcast determined. And I think, considering all of the time that he was out with injuries and, mental and emotional days off that he needed, he was able to produce still in the time that he had on the field. So, and like Matt said, every time he's out on the field, you can expect him to bleed blue, white, and gold and to put one in the back of the net.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's also in a team that's not really built for a target striker like him, right? It seems like he's not getting the service that he needs or that he should be getting consistently game after game. I can only imagine what Chicharito's numbers would be like if he had a true number 10 playmaker, right? Just feeding him balls through the middle. I think he might possibly be past 20 goals by now. And also, if he wasn't injured, you have to remember he missed, what was it, like 10, 12 games or something ridiculous like that.
Right.
That's 1/3 of the season right there, and that's possibly another 5-6 goals that he could have scored in that time. Easily, right? So successful, sure. I mean, we here at the show set the benchmark for him at 15 goals. So here he is, proving us wrong, or proving us right, if you want to say that. So I would love to hear everybody's comments on this, because people are very divided on Chicharito, rightfully so, right? He didn't have such a good season last year. So I'm very interested. I want to know what you guys think. Has Chicharito had a successful season this year? Maybe not. Maybe. Let us know. But moving forward, we have to talk about last week's game. Not really last week. That was Monday, a couple days ago. Feels like a last week type of game, right? The Los Angeles Galaxy going up to Seattle, playing at Lumen Field against a mostly stacked Seattle team. They had a lot of people coming back, right? Raul Ruidiaz, Nicolas Lodeiro, even Jordan Morris, who's been out the entire season, made an appearance. What was that game? What did that game mean for us, Casey? I know you took far more notes than the rest of us. If you could give us that general overview of that game against Seattle, the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, well, I generally took notes for both games, Seattle and Sporting Kansas City. But I mean, we all knew what the stakes were going into this Seattle game. We basically needed those points to propel ourselves into that 5th position spot and be comfortable going into decision day. And we had that early goal from Chicharito, which was well put in and well finished, to be honest with you. And then we let the lead slip out of our hands with a terrible penalty concession from O'Neal Fisher later in the game. And there was some good though over these last two games. There was a lot more chance creation than we've seen in more recent games. Some of which were being created seemingly out of nowhere. We had 10 shots against Sporting Kansas City. And without Chicharito, we had Kleshton, Vasquez, Dos Santos all stepping up to create many of those chances. Against Seattle, we had 11 shots. Raveloson, Leggett, and Chicharito leading the way in shot creation attempts in that regard, in that game. So there was a lot of good to look forward to, a lot of good ball movement in that final third. There was a lot of good play off of Chicharito as the target striker, long balls going up to him, headers going down to the oncoming runner, that sort of thing that you want to see from a target striker. And so there was a lot of positives in the attack. But there were also a lot of ugly points, which I'll get to in a second.
Yes.
But that was generally my good over the last 2 games, was that, the overall increase in chance creation that we've seen, and many more of the guys stepping up to create those chances, not just relying on guys like Chicharito or Dejan Jovelic or Cabral. So it's good to see other names in the fold there.
Speaking of that Seattle game specifically, we had a pretty damn good first half.
Mm-hmm.
We had a pretty damn good first half. We actually went to Lumen Field, formerly known Century. I still call it CenturyLink Field, right? A very tough place to play, turf. The crowd there is just in your ear, right? And the Galaxy didn't break down. They had a pretty damn good first half, and they were pressing, and they were attacking, and they had chances. Then there was that second half. Get us into that, Casey. What happened there?
Yeah, the second half, I mean, we just lost a lot of control. I think a lot of the bad in the second half, and I hate to pin it on a single player, but O'Neal Fisher just was not up to par. He's not a successful dribbler. He concedes a lot of the ball. His timing isn't great. He doesn't seem to lift his head. There are often so many good passing options for O'Neal Fisher. He just doesn't seem to see them. He fouls clumsily in our third. One of those fouls resulted in the tying penalty for Seattle. And ultimately he's shown that he's a liability over these last three or four games.
Such a liability.
And if we can make a run into the playoffs, I'm really hoping that Villafania can be fit and ready to fit in that starting 11 again.
And Araujo, such a liability. And listen, a tale of two halves. Okay, now I'm gonna ask Matt, what is the reason for that breakdown in the second half? Was it perhaps Brian? Was it Brian Schmelter? What's his name? Schmetzer. I always confuse his name.
I like Schmelter better though.
Schmelter. was it his tactics that kind of did he out tactic Vanny, or was this the Galaxy players having a typical psychological lapse where maybe they thought, hey, we're gonna just settle for a tie here, and then they just kind of gave up? What was your take on that? What was the reason for the Galaxy kind of falling apart in the second half?
Well, I think my general take on the game as a whole is that, watching the first half and the second half is that it was really bittersweet watching the first half, right? Yeah. It's because you saw them play so well. You saw them do all the things we've been complaining that they should be doing the entire season. They played direct. They were purposeful. They're aggressively looking for opportunities. They were trying to seize the game. They didn't just hold the ball and pass backward. They were actually eating up the space. You saw them do all these things, and then you realize, like, where was this all season, right? I had always said, like, the Galaxy team, like, it has potential. The money's there in talented players, but inevitably, like, MSG Free on our Discord had said, or Turbo Skin, or Sippin' Latte. I love all these names. It's a mentality issue, right? It's just a mentality issue.
Yeah.
The Galaxy they only play hard when they feel like there's something really big at stake. And then this has been a chronic thing for the Galaxy for the last couple of years. They play down to their competition, they play up to their competition, right? And that's a lack of discipline. So to answer your question, Chris, going into the second half, like, what happened? Well, it was a combination of things, right? Like, the Galaxy reverted back to their typical mentality where they felt like they were up, they got comfortable, and the Galaxy, being the comfortable on vacationing in LA type team, kind of fell apart a little bit, right? And then same thing, I think I had said in the Discord, like, right at halftime, like, the Galaxy are in control right now. Vanny cannot get out coached in the second half. He cannot let it happen, and it happened again. Right?
Go ahead. And to add to that too, it like you said, Matt, it is the complacency that we've complained about all season. But the fact that late in the game, when Chicharito came off for Daniel Steres, showed you that Greg was settling for that draw.
Yeah. So baffling. This was a do or die game.
Telling. Yeah. It was so telling.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into it a little bit more when we start discussing how the Galaxy can get into the playoffs. But that tie, like you said, Chris, some people liked it, some people didn't. There's really only one really off the wall scenario in which that tie really helps us. Other than that, it really had no difference. But yeah, Vanny got out coached again the second half. They figured out our passing lanes that he had schemed up, and because the Galaxy don't have a real creative presence in the middle, there's no one to change the dynamic for the team. So It was a combination of things, Chris.
It blew my mind to see Daniel Steres come on for Javier Chicharito Hernandez, and it blew my mind to not see Dejan make an appearance whatsoever, right? It's just, like Matt said, that point really, really doesn't help the Galaxy. 3 points would have just about solidified the Galaxy in the playoffs. It would have taken a lot of other, variables, right? But I don't know. Those two halves exemplified the Galaxy season from day one till today, right? Like Matt said, the Galaxy, it's a psychological issue, guys. The skill is there. There are very skillful players on this team. Look at all the new players that were brought on. For the most part, all of them were upgrades over what we had on the field the last couple of seasons, right? And yet, here we are, the Galaxy losing against teams like Austin, right? Losing against the Texas teams, that are bottom of the table, teams that we had no business losing against. And then you have them going up against a Portland that's coming in hot and then beating them, and beating teams that they're, it's so weird. The Galaxy's just so inconsistent. It's a roller coaster ride, and there's ups and downs. It's so unpredictable. That first half, I could have sworn I said, listen, the Galaxy's going to leave here with 3 points. Mm-hmm. And then the second half starts, and I was like, no, listen, the Galaxy's going to probably lose this one. It is what it is. Anything else that we need to add about this this Seattle game?
Well, I think just over those last 2 games, it was the fact that it's the other side of the coin from my good point. It's, we're creating plenty of chances, but they aren't going in. Yeah. Right. And the fact that Chicharito has 15 goals and our next highest goal scorers on the team are Raveloson and Kleshton with 5 apiece says a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, against SKC, we had 10 shots and only 2 of them were on target. Against Seattle, we had 11 shots. I believe 4 of them were on target. And, too many of these chances are directly in front of goal, and they end up in the goalkeeper's hands or they go wide.
Yeah.
And then you have instances with Cabral where he receives the final ball where he should be finishing there.
Yeah.
But he decides to look for the pass in the 18. And I mean, he's already in the 6 at this point. Like we've seen this numerous times with Cabral where he'll dribble to the 6 and he'll look for the passing option. And other times you see he cuts inside and shoots, and he's much more effective doing that. For whatever reason, he does not default to that move. I don't know if he doesn't want to get read too easily by defenders, what have you, but he's not effective when he looks for that passing option in the final third. He needs to be more clinical finishing.
Yeah.
And that's just across the board.
I have all my notes right here. I don't know if they're going to be able to read on the pod. Cabral. Oof.
Oh goodness. That's okay. So we'll add that to the Minnesota match preview, because I'm willing to bet that Cabral is going to start in that Minnesota match, because Fanny's just shown that he's doubling down on it, right? So,
but like Matt said, he is leaving him out to dry for the world to see. He's leaving him basically naked on the field for everybody to see. He's laid bare, and it's sad, but it's also gratifying to know that, that if this results in a lineup change, then that's just what we have to go through for that. It's just part of the deal.
Right on. Let's talk about this Minnesota game. Okay. The most important game of the season so far. And here we are. It's kind of sad that we're here at this stage yet again. The Galaxy hanging on by a thread, one game deciding the entire season. It's sad that we're doing this again on decision day, when honestly, the Galaxy should have probably had a playoff spot weeks ago, right? Like some of the other top contenders in the league. But we're possibly going to end up in 6th or 7th place. That's reality, right? Matt, we're gonna push this in your direction, because you're the one that went out and actually got in deep with the Minnesota folks. Let's hear it, man. How are we stacking up?
I reached out to Minnesota United Reddit. I went to enemy territory, so don't say I don't love you guys. It's actually not fair to call them enemy territory. They're actually really cool people out there. So if you see any Minnesota United Loon fans out there, like, treat them nice. They're actually really, really cool people. And it's really cold there right now, so be cool. A special thank you out to a couple contributors, Jerkoy, Imunto 2, and also the Royal We. They wrote really long and very descriptive descriptions of their team. So offensively, and I'll say this, I'll preface this, it's amazing how much Minnesota kind of sounds like the Galaxy. So this is actually going to be a pretty good matchup. Offensively, they like to attack up, they like to bomb up their wingers as well, and then cross in. That seems to be a very one dynamic type of offense for them. When they don't do that, Reynoso is their star player. And I don't know if anyone I don't know if anyone watches the Loons play a lot, but if you watch Reynoso and you watch his highlights, he's actually a fabulous player.
Phenomenal player.
If there's ever a type of creator to build around, it's definitely him. And then finally, they play a very wide committed offense. So it's either going wide or it's coming to Reynoso, or it's coming to Reynoso and then it's going wide. Not too dissimilar from the way the Galaxy have bombed up their wingers, basically since the era of Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. But very one-dimensional type of offense as well. Defensively, they're particularly strong with their center back pairings between Boxel, Debasi, and then also Will Trapp, and then also Alonso. Alonso, unfortunately for them, is not going to be available at this game. But that 3 pair, or I guess 4 pair when Alonso's in, is very difficult to break down. And I do remember this from when we had to play them. Defensively speaking, they're very fundamentally strong. If you let them get set into a half, it's just a matter of time before you give the ball, and then they're going to counter on you. Typical Heath type of team, plays with a lot of grit, and like I said, they keep their fundamentals very good. And then finally, how do we beat this team, right? So from what they told me, and there were some pretty good responses that I'll get into at the end, but essentially what you have to do is you have to bait them in so that you can counter them. As good as their backline and their defensive mids are, they're not particularly athletic or fast. And I think one person described their backline as aging. So the way they've typically got beat is a lot of the ways we've gotten beat, right? We get sucked in. And I think I went over this when we had Rojas on the show, Chris, with Napoleon and the Russians, and that historical reference I used is if you can bait them in and suck them in, you can exploit them out on the wings. So what we need to do there is we're going to have to attack and transition quickly. And more than one person had actually mentioned that when we did beat Minnesota, Cabral was definitely a factor because his speed was able to get behind their center backs. So as bad as Cabral has been, this might be a game in which
he can shine.
He might find himself in a dangerous situation, right? And having Chicha, if Cabral doesn't take the shot, hopefully Chicha is trailing big behind him and can finish those chances. The other thing is, like I said, because Reynoso is the key, if you take Reynoso out of the game, you pretty much stagnate Minnesota completely. That engine just does not run without the key, and the key is going to be Reynoso. How to stop him isn't exactly clear. Some teams have tried to rough him up. That hasn't particularly worked well. Some teams try to keep the ball from him, but because Alonso and Trapp are so well-versed veterans of MLS, they can typically get him the ball. As one person put, if you want to stop Reynoso, you're basically going to have to go out there and murder him. So
he's a very skillful player.
He is.
I don't know what Derek Williams was planning on doing with this Sunday, but put a target on that guy. And then also Minnesota is at least this season a very poor road team. And one person had mentioned that they actually haven't beat us at our current stadium yet. So a position of strength for us mentally, and obviously you take any edge you can get. Finally, apparently the real only true way to beat Minnesota every time is to get a red card, because when Minnesota plays against 10 men, they just, for whatever reason, find ways to lose. So
interesting.
Hey,
so in conclusion, I didn't see that stat.
Derek Williams.
In conclusion, Minnesota Reddit says, murder Reynoso, take that red card, and go home with the 3 points.
There you go, folks. You heard it. That's how you beat Minnesota.
That's how you beat Minnesota. And just for the Minnesota people, because you guys gave me so much good information, I'm going to tell you how to beat the Galaxy. Unfortunately for Galaxy fans, we all know how to beat the Galaxy because we've seen people do it all year, like a punching bag. So I'm going to make this quick for them. Like you guys, we can be beat quickly on the counter, right? Like we're not particularly agile outside of Araujo. So we run that wide committed offense as well. You can also beat us on the counter. Offensively speaking, if you can stop Araujo, if you can literally just stop our right back, this is going to sound ridiculous. If you can just stop our right back, our entire offense shuts down. So just stop the channel between Araujo and what will most likely be, I imagine, Efra, because of what's been happening historically.
Yeah.
You stop that channel, the game's over for us. We're not going to be able to score even one goal. And when you do that, what ends up happening is that the Galaxy have to pass through the middle, right? And we all see what happens when the Galaxy pass the middle. They pass sideways, they pass backwards, they never pass forward. And when they do those things, it's only a matter of time before a couple of errors happen. Either Jet passes backwards one too many times, right? And a center back gets taken over, or Revolution has to make a long sideways pass, which inevitably gets intercepted, right? Or Jonah holds the ball too long and gets turned on, and then doesn't, right, and then doesn't have the athletic ability to get back. The other thing you're going to want to do is, even when you have the ball, if you can draw Jonah towards you and you pass around him, he doesn't have the horizontal speed anymore to get back and play defense. So now the Galaxy are essentially playing one man down.
It's almost too
and
easy
then we
to
see
do
that like,
now.
yeah, he doesn't sprint, he jogs back. And then finally, you're going to want to create situations in which Cabral becomes the decision maker. Going back to what Casey said, right? If Cabral gets behind you, that's his point of strength. But if he gets to the wing and he's isolated, the longer time you give him to make a decision, the worse that decision will be. If he has no time to make a decision and he just has to one touch it, he's good. Yeah. But if he has even one touch on that ball, what will happen next will be a clown show. So Minnesota, that's how you beat the Galaxy.
He's got to also work on his passing. Let me tell you, Cabral has to work on his passing. Christ, his passing is horrendous so far in these last couple of games.
But just to supplement what you said, Matt, you're absolutely right. And a lot of this game is going to be played transitionary in the midfield. And it's ultimately going to come down to who can exploit that area of the field better. And like we touched on, the Galaxy needs to be able to transition much quicker. We've seen them get stopped up, especially against teams like Minnesota, stopped up in the channels to where we don't have very many passing options other than to go back or then to punt balls forward. So I think this is going to be a pound for pound. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight, and I'm excited for it. And I think the boys will rally to get the 3 points. I'm optimistic.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up next. People love predictions. They go wild for predictions, right? And we've had people come up to the stadium and ask about predictions. So we have to do it. We have to do it. I'm going to detach my hardcore Galaxy fan chip, microchip from my brain, because my hardcore Galaxy fan chip is telling me the Galaxy's going to win. They're going to get 3 points. They're going to score a ton of goals. They're going to go on to hopefully get a home game in the playoffs. We're going to win that, and we're going to beat every team. We're going to get to the Western Conference Final. We're going to win that Western Conference Final. We're going to get to the MLS Cup Final against Bruce Arena's New England Revolution, and we're going to do what the Galaxy does in finals against the New England Revolution, and we're going to win a 6th MLS Cup. That's what my hardcore Galaxy fan microchip says, but I remove that and I detach it, and my realist, right, just based off of the way the Galaxy's played and historically the last couple of playoffs where the Galaxy, it's come down to the wire on decision day. For me, I say I'm not feeling too confident about this game. I feel like there might be some heartbreak in. I have to just kind of brace myself for that. So I'm a little bit on the fence. But I don't know. I'm not very optimistic. I want to get your guys' takes on this. Casey, prediction for this game?
I'm thinking it's going to be 3 points, but it's going to be an ugly 3 points. I think we'll probably get scored on early, and second half we'll come back and rally, probably score 2 or 3, and have 3 points at the end of the day. It's, listen, it's going to be a home game. It's going to be the last regular game of the season. You're going to have a stadium full of hyped Galaxy fans who are going to be with them all 90 minutes. Victoria Block's probably going to be going off. Lars are going to be going off. I'm going to be stomping my feet and throwing streamers from the 200s myself, and I think, like I said, the boys are going to rally and get the 3 points in front of the home crowd and send us off into the playoffs in style.
Hey, man, this man has faith.
Sometimes too much.
Sometimes too much. Matt, what do you say, man? What do you say?
I'm going to say one of two things is going to happen. I think we are going to be leading 2-1 going into the 88th minute, and either Minnesota ties it up and we tie 2-2, or we get a breakaway and Cabral scores and it's 3-1 in like the 90+1.
Oh gosh, how crazy would that be?
My heart wants to say it's going to be that 3-1, but I think that is exactly one of those two things that's going to happen. It's going to happen at those minutes, and we're going to be leading going into 88.
So hey, listen, this is Matt. This is Matt. Matt Serdamus. Is it going to come true again? I mean,
this would be very good. This is
going to be good, but it is very specific.
I'll tell you this much. If Cabral wins the game-winning goal, they better be preparing toe soup at Dignity Health Sports Park, because a lot of people will be eating their own feet, putting feet in their mouths.
That's the kind of moment that could just change. And I mean, no matter what he's done, or in this case, hasn't done all season, right? A moment like that can really just change the perspective of the fan base. One moment, right? So
I have a lot of faith that Chicha is going to do it. I think he's going to get us that win. I think that's going to be the big difference of year 4 versus the last 3 years. I just have a lot of faith in Chicha's ability to wield a game.
He's a guy that's played big games, at big games. And this is it. This is it. This is the moment for the entire team. Those mental breakdowns we've had in the past, they just have to just go out the door this game. The Galaxy has to play like they played that first half against Seattle. Because it's do or die. That's the only scenario, right, guys? We're going to talk about playoff scenarios. That's it. If the Galaxy wins, it doesn't matter anybody else's result. The Galaxy is guaranteed to be in the playoffs. That's it. Bottom line, right? If the Galaxy loses, what are the options for the Galaxy getting into the playoffs? We're talking about a lot of things have to happen in order for the Galaxy to enter the playoffs. We were talking about this earlier, about the LAFC game, right? About the results tonight with RSL. If RSL wins and LAFC wins against Colorado, they could possibly bump the Galaxy out of playoffs. Is that right?
Yes. If RSL wins tonight, the LAFC's only route into playoffs is to win and have us lose, and then they will jump us on a tiebreaker.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, perfect.
That's the last thing we want to see, right?
And one thing I forgot to note about Minnesota, someone pointed out on their Discord, Minnesota most likely knows they only need a tie to make playoffs at this point. Like I think in like 90% of their scenarios, a tie gets it done. So we will most likely have to play with possession here, and we see how that can go. Yeah. So it'll be up to them.
Well, there it is, guys. Listen, Galaxy just gave Dennis Ticlos a new contract, right? So. Is it gonna be playoffs for Dennis Ticlos? We're gonna hope, right? Because that's our hope at the end of every season, that the Galaxy makes it to the playoffs. Guys, is there anything else you'd like to add on to this, or did we pretty much get through everything as well?
Yes, I have a very comprehensive breakdown of all scenarios for the Galaxy. We're recording this during the RSL game, so keep that in mind. But I have a breakdown of all the scenarios that the Galaxy could encounter and what needs to happen without knowledge of the RSL game. Okay, I want to pick up my notebook for this part. If the Galaxy lose, they can get into the playoffs if RSL either loses twice or loses and ties, and LAFC has to lose their last game. So some combination of RSL only getting 1 point and LAFC losing would mean that the Minnesota game, we could lose and still make it. Wow. Okay, so just keep that in your mind.
As it is right now, I'm checking the score. RSL is down in the 38th minute. Right, 2 goals. 2 goals. Portland just scored a second goal.
Okay, so let's assume RSL loses that game.
Yeah.
So in this next game, RSL either has to lose or tie, and LAFC has to lose, and we can get into playoffs with a loss. So keep that in mind. That scenario does exist at this point.
Wow.
Okay. If the Galaxy tie against Minnesota, this one gets a little bit more complicated. If the Galaxy tie against Minnesota, Vancouver has to lose, and only LAFC or RSL can win the last game. Only one of the two of them. If they both win, they jump us, and we're out of the playoffs regardless with the tie. So Vancouver has to lose, and only LAFC and RSL, only one of them can win. And we would only beat Vancouver for a playoff spot because a tiebreaker on wins. So that's why I said that tie in Seattle really didn't help us that much.
Nope.
That is a very far-fetched scenario. Okay. If the Galaxy win, we are in playoffs. That's it. Regardless of anything that happened, everyone else can win. If the Galaxy beat Minnesota, we're going into playoffs. Period.
That's it.
Okay.
Do or die.
And then finally, this is from Vapor from the Discord. Galaxy can get home field advantage, and this is looking less likely with this Portland score, but the Galaxy can get home field advantage if Portland loses both their games, we beat Minnesota, Vancouver loses, and RSL gets a win and a loss. There you go.
Wow.
So Portland has to lose twice, Minnesota has to lose, Vancouver has to lose, RSL has to beat Portland, which they're losing now, and lose their last game. In that scenario, we get home field advantage. So it's possible.
Wow.
It's possible. Wow. Okay.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Out here cracking numbers, y'all.
My brain hurts. Okay.
I feel like that gif of that woman with all the numbers whizzing by her head and she's confused.
Zach Galifianakis. Oh goodness. Listen, I hope that all the Galaxy fans that are out there listening have a better understanding of the playoff scenario for the Galaxy now. There are still other routes, even with a loss or a draw, but we have to just pray to baby Jesus for that win, right? For those 3 points. But with that said, guys, I think we pretty much covered it all. We're pretty set.
Yep. Oh, if you're not already on the Discord, jump on the Discord, check the announcements tag. If you know, you know. Check the announcement tag on the Discord.
Get
on the Discord.
We're on the Discord. It's lots of fun.
That's the LA Galaxy family Discord ran by our good friend G-Man over there. They have a great moderator team. It's very unbiased, very open. A lot of good conversation happens there. We don't talk about politics. It's all soccer stuff, right? And then they have gaming nights as well, which are pretty fun. It's a pretty fun community, especially on game days. A lot of people just talking about the Galaxy. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. Look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday for hopefully not the last time this season, but as far as the regular season is concerned, for the last time, right? From myself, Chris Maldonado, the Galaxy Guy podcast, the Galaxy Guy show, we would like to thank you guys for this amazing season so far. We're not done yet. We still have a couple more shows to go. Hopefully some playoff shows to go as well. And from my wonderful co-hosts, Matt Granger, Casey Cagle, guys, awesome having you guys on as always. Hope to see you guys on Sunday. And we're signing off. We'll see you guys next time. Nos vemos. Buenas noches.